Hey there, Eleni Fitzgerald here. This is part two. I didn't say part one before, but this is part two of our introduction to our sleeping patterns with children. Welcome to 21 days of holiday struggles, tips and strategies with your children. So over the last week, we covered self-love as a parent, strategies that you can incorporate in your day to make sure that you're taking care of yourself as a parent, because ultimately if you're not filling your cup up as a parent, how will you be filling up everybody else's cup? And how can you take care of your children, your little ones, if you're exhausted? So please, if you would like to go back and check out those videos, over the last 9 days, we have had some content regarding self-love strategies and self-care as a parent. This week, we're going to cover sleep patterns. So yes, in part one, I asked you, what is your child's day like? Whether it's a baby, infant, toddler, preschool, kinder, what is their day like? What are their meals like? What are they eating? Are they having a sleep during the day? Are they sleeping like late, early? Are they eating enough? Are they doing lots of activity during the day? And what's happening before bed? The most important thing that you should know about sleep routines is everything will affect them through the day. So for example, at the moment, we're having hot days. We're having this situation with our air quality, where our there's a lot of pollution out there in the air from all the smoke with fires. The heat all can play a pretty big part in the children's behavior and children's sleeping. In fact, even a full moon will change people's patterns. So imagine what it does to children. I often say that, imagine if we're feeling uncomfortable, if we're talking about babies younger than toddlers, I mean, they can't even let you know what they're feeling. So if we're feeling uncomfortable, what are they feeling? Probably worse than you. And the difference is they can't express themselves. So they may cry about it to tell you that they're not feeling great. They might whinge. They might have a tantrum. They might not sleep. They might not eat. So if there's something going on for them, they may be expressing it to you in various ways. So I wanted to give you some things to think about as to sleeping, children's sleep, why they may not be sleeping. So it's very common for babies not to sleep through the night. Within the first 2 months, newborns sleep on and off and at random times until they form a routine. And they do have this random routine between 12 and 18 hours a day. And most babies sleep through the night by the time they're about 9 months old. Okay, and sometimes that might even mean 5 to 6 hours in a row. So it's very common for babies to not be sleeping normal. She's just young and she hasn't developed a routine of sleeping yet. And there are ways that we can make sure we are helping them to become used to a sleep routine. It's very important that we help them through that process, because if we're out of whack all the time, they are out of whack as well. So there is ways of doing that. So maybe as a baby, they haven't reached that point where they're learning how to sleep. And there's ways that we can make sure that babies are going into their routine by making sure that we follow a sleeping pattern anyway, whenever we can. Are you their sleeping aid? So I know that we can be very, feel so responsible for our children when they can't sleep. And if they can't sleep, we feel like we have to hold them and rock them and settle them. However, we have to be really, really careful that if we're trying to help them learn to sleep, that we're not making a habit of becoming their aid to help them sleep. It's really, really important to teach children to go to bed. Whether we've got to put them in their cot, put them in their bed, and always redirect them back to their sleeping place, which is their bed or their cot. Helping children to become self-soothers. Personally, I prefer dummies to be used only for the first year. But before they start talking more and before their infant to toddlers ages, I think that's the best time to remove a dummy, because it's easier to overcome that, I guess that, what am I trying to say? The need to have the dummy. When they're a little bit younger, it's easier to detach faster than later on when they know that they can depend on their dummy as a soothing item. Helping children to learn to fall asleep by themselves. Possibly getting rid of their soothers, which is a dummy, often will help them to not have to look for things in the middle of the night. And, even if they wake up, it would help them to be independent, to put themselves back to sleep. So checking to make sure that you're not the sleeping aid and you're not rocking them to sleep every night, helping children become independent when they're going to sleep. When you're talking about toddlers and preschoolers, they need between 11 and 14 hours of sleep every 24 hours. So are they maybe exhausted, too tired? Toddlers and preschoolers, they are so hectic in their brain all day. They are absorbing so much information. They are doing so much learning, helping to walk and climb, and their brain has to function to do so many things physically, mentally, emotionally. They're figuring out that world around them. They've got so much to do. So at the end of the day, are they overtired? Are they exhausted? That could be potentially stopping them going to sleep. Are they having naps during the day? Because if they're not having naps, that could also make them overtired. And setting regular bedtimes and keeping up with your routine. Are you on track with your routine, or are you inconsistent? Being inconsistent with routines can lead children to be all over the place as well. So there is ways and strategies to keep consistent and be diligent in your routine. And factoring meals, playtime, wake up time, making sure that children are winding down before they're going to sleep, not having too much food before bed, but enough to fill them up. So factoring a lot of things in their night routine as well, making sure they're winding down before they're going to bed. Are they suffering from separation anxiety? It's completely normal for your child to feel anxious. Have they been away from you through the day? It's important to acknowledge when they are going through this time period in their world. It's still important to try not to encourage it's really important through sleep time, when it's sleep time and they really want you to stay with them, that you limit your time that you're staying with them in bed before they go to sleep. So, Mummy, I want you to sleep, to read a story. Keep it to one story, one song. Keep your time limited and let them know that I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 things and then it's bedtime. And around 6 months, you can help a baby go back to sleep. As long as, they're not sick and everything. Obviously, if they're sick or whatever, we can be lenient when they're sick. Obviously, they need attention and care. But, you don't have to pick them up all the time as well. You can rub them softly, pat their back softly, and help them go back to sleep. So ultimately, it's really, really important for you to comfort children. However, teaching them to go to bed, it's time for sleep. We're only doing 1 book, 2 books, 1 book and a song, and that's it. And then it's bedtime. And if they are trying to get your attention, getting anxious about separating from you at nighttime, that you're redirecting them to their bed and helping them go to sleep. And it's also good to, another thing that you can always do with older children is, toddlers and above, have a little lamp for them, a little night lamp, so it's not too bright. It's still giving them that yellow sleep light, and having their little sipper cup there with water in case they are a bit thirsty, having their comfort item there, possibly even having like something that smells like a pillowcase that's from you near their bed, so they have the scent of you there. But prepare them for bed so that they don't have to get out of it in a hurry. If they've got everything that they need, you're making the rules and you're redirecting them back to their bed. It's really, really important that you are also consistent and diligent with your rules. And making sure you have a bedtime routine and following that routine to the T every single night. Not having a bedtime routine is what's going to cause you to have delays and possibly children playing up in the evening. Talking about it, just before dinner. We're going to have dinner, we're going to have a bath time, and then we're going to get ready for bed. We're going to pick 2 stories tonight, and then it's bedtime. And making sure that children are listening to your rules. You're the boss, and your rules are important. You're the boss of bedtime. So it's so important to get children out of the habit. Excuse me. It's so important to get children out of the habit of controlling you through that period of time. You are in charge of the children's decision, and I would rather re-guide them back to their bed, where I shut the door and say it's sleep time, good night, and have them have a little bit of a tantrum. Eventually they tire themselves out and fall asleep anyway, rather than have myself sleeping on their bed or have them sleeping in mine, because we all need a good night's sleep so that we can function the next day. And it's really important to start your whole routine from 4 months old. So when your child's 4 months old, to make sure that you're following a routine, and as they're growing, you're teaching them and implementing that routine all the way through with your rules and your strategies. So it's very important to get them to listen to those rules from 4 months old. That's all I have for you tonight. Tomorrow night we will continue this conversation because this is a very big topic. I will be giving you the next 5 things that you can look at in terms of your children's sleeping patterns, and we can look at other things that may be causing them not to sleep, and also give you more tips and strategies during this 21 days of holiday struggles, and tips and strategies with your children. So I look forward to speaking with you again tomorrow, and we will be continuing part 3 of sleeping routines and patterns with children. Speak to you then.